A very good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for Condé Nast Partners in Creativity. My name is Molife Kumona. I'm the head of digital and online editor for Condé Nast South Africa. Thank you so much for joining our conversation that is brought to you by Ford and Dale Carnegie. I'd like to thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We know you could have been doing anything else, but you chose to be with us. So it's definitely not a secret that the publishing industry has been going through a lot. And with COVID-19, things have not been made easy, as we've seen a lot of publishing houses closing. So the question we aim to answer with this webinar is, how is Condé Nast weathering the storm? What is Condé Nast doing to stay not only alive but relevant, as well as what are we doing for our advertisers as well as our readers. This is going to be a very exciting conversation where we talk about how Condé Nast is driving a meaningful conversation, which is a discussion of power of partnering with lifestyle brands, as well as digital content revolution, and why the publishing industry has never been more critical than ever. I'm not alone to give you this conversation, so I am in good company. I'm definitely in good company. I'm with the editors-in-chief of all the Condé Nast titles, House and Garden, GQ, Glamour. So we've got Piet, Smedy, who is the editor-in-chief for House and Garden. We have Nontando, Mposo, who is the editor-in-chief for Glamour. We have Nkosiyati, Khumalo, who is the editor-in-chief for GQ South Africa. And we also have our sales executives on this webinar, as they're talking as well about how the sales strategy and the advertising strategy has changed during these times and what we are doing for our clients. We've got Jacqui Erasmus, we've got Charlotte NUTMAN, and we've got Beverly, who is on this call. But that is not all. We also have guest speakers. We have some of the best of the best in terms of guest speakers. We have got Josephine, who is the CEO of the Publisher Research Council. We've got trend analyst and founder of Flat Trends, Dion Chang. And we have Lebo, who is a marketing guru, digital expert, and the voice of marketing South Africa. Thank you guys so much for joining us. So just to start off, I'll just hand it over to the editors-in-chief, so that you can just tell us what's happening with Condé Nast right now, what's happening with Condé Nast brands, and what people can expect going forward. So I will start off with Nkosiyati, who is the editor-in-chief of GQ South Africa. Yati, over to you.
Thanks so much, Molife, and I'm so happy to be here today to be able to share what we're up to. We always think in compassion with our colleagues elsewhere whose titles have closed, unfortunately, and everybody's in the same boat, but we're very grateful and fortunate to be here to be able to share with you what we have planned. The exciting thing for me is that we're still here, we're still printing every month, we're still active, our fantastic creative teams are working from everywhere across the Western Cape to really produce some amazing content, and that really excites me. So for us, we're really doubling down on our efforts to produce great storytelling and to spark important conversations. And that's what we're doing across all platforms. For me, especially in print, there really is an opportunity there to really speak and do a deep dive into those important conversations. So when it comes to October, our theme is all about doing better. And that's both a guide, but also a play. To inspire and to simply better men in our homes, in our communities, in our relationships, especially with relating to women. For December, we're going to be focusing on being active and how to do that safely and effectively, even in the midst of a pandemic. And in December, we'll be celebrating some South African heroes through our Men of the Year project. But overall, still informing, entertaining, and advising with a lot of emphasis on being surprising and delightful at the same time. So we've got a lot in store. I'm very, very excited about the rest of the year. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much. That's Nkosiyati, Khumalo, editor-in-chief for GQ South Africa. Lebo, I see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We're moving on to Nontando, Mposo, who is the editor-in-chief for Glamour magazine South Africa. So Nontando, tell us what's going on with Glamour right now. Is Glamour still around? I think one of the things that has been happening with the close down of publishing houses is a lot of people have been asking, are we still around? I guess this webinar is showing that we are still around, but what are we doing? What's different with Glamour? What can we expect?
Thank you, Mo. Thank you everyone who's on the line for joining us. We appreciate the support. Well, Glamour is still here, and what a year it has been. Our industry has taken a fast nose down, but we are still here, we are still going strong, and we're so grateful for everybody's support. We are grateful to be here. A lot has changed this year. We are living through a pandemic. We are adjusting to new ways of working, new ways of living. But Glamour, we have an amazing team that has been adapting and innovating through the times. Currently on the shelf, we have our August and September issue, which has Kelani on the cover, and what comes with this issue is Glamour Hair, which is in collaboration with Clicks SA. And for the rest of the year, in October, we have our issue that's themed self-care. This issue says it's time to recharge and just rejuvenate and celebrate life and living with a bit of self-care. We'll be focusing on new style, new innovations, and what taking us through to the spring and summer months. And November is a celebration of fearless and powerful women issue. This issue coincides with our GMG, that's Glamour's most glamorous event. We have a new theme or direction this year, which is something to look forward to. We'll be celebrating and honoring women who are game changers in the industries and fields. And for December, this is our celebration issue. Like we hopefully will all be here in December. And this is just a reflection of like saying we're grateful, we're still here, and we're looking forward to what 2021 has in store for us. And this issue also comes with one of our brand properties, which is our biggest event of the year. That's Glamour's Women of the Year, celebrating and honoring powerhouses in different industries, such as in business, in entertainment, and the like. So this is definitely something to look forward to. Thank you, Mo.
Thank you so much. Definitely a whole lot of things to look forward to. Piet, House and Garden. We have seen the current cover. I mean, I know it's the current covers for all the three brands with a special back cover. So tell us what's happening with House and Garden. Tell us about that back cover as well, because that's just stunning.
I was literally going to bring that up now. Hi, Mo, and thank you everyone for joining today. It's actually lying over there. I was going to dash off and grab it now. But to echo the back cover, do you have one? Oh, fantastic. But to echo the back cover and what my fellow editors have said is just the biggest thank you from us at Editorial, from us at Condé Nast as a company, to our readers, to our supporters. We wouldn't be here having this webinar with you if it wasn't for the continued support and the continued loyalty from our readers and supporters. So for that, we are eternally grateful. From my side, in terms of House and Garden, these have been such crazy times, especially in the field, I suppose, of like living and your home. So we've really taken stock of that this year in a big way. The issue that's on shelf now, August, September, is all about how design is adapting to this concept of the new normal. And yeah, just sort of grappling with that and what that means for us now. That rolls out into October, where we take a real deep dive, as Yati said, into the humanist side of design as well, because design is becoming so much more about the people, and I think that extends beyond decor. It's very much, you can see it in fashion in such a big way. You can see it in all industries, but it's really about the people behind the brands and the people, and also how we're changing those industries to become more humanist. In November, we are, an issue I'm very, very excited for, we are tackling the issue of representation, which is a global conversation really, around representation, obviously for me, particularly in design. the lack of representation of Black creatives in the global design industry. So for us, that is something that we're really excited to be a part of and to pioneer and push. And we've got amazing collaborators who are working with us on that issue, and that's going to be something really exciting. And then in December, it's our Home for the Holidays issue, which I think is what we all need at the end of this year, is just family and sanctuary and, you know, just to unwind. So yeah, I think for us, as I always say, House and Garden isn't a magazine about cushions and wallpaper. You know, it's a magazine about the culture of living. That's really what it's about. So we hope to really fly that flag. Thanks, man. You're muted, you're muted.
Apologies for that. So one of our partners for Condé Nast Partners in Creativity, Forward, is running a poll. We're running a poll with Forward, which I'm just launching just now. So you will have a look at the poll. It's going to be running throughout our webinar. And they have got a couple of interesting questions there that they would like to know from you. But outside of that, we also have a prize. We have a prize from Dale Carnegie with 35,000 Rand. And how you stand a chance to win is simply by being on this webinar. So as soon as you stay on the webinar, sorry about that, as you stay on the webinar, we'll announce the winners for that. Moving forward right now to our part 2 of our webinar, we've got an interesting conversation, and we're speaking to someone who's a strategic thinker, who is a keynote speaker, a walking ideas bank, professional cage rattler. He is one of South Africa's most respected trend analysts and founder of Flat Trends, which takes the unique view of trends as business strategies. We are talking about Dion Chang, and Dion Chang will be having a conversation. Yati and Nontando will be facilitating that conversation with Dion Chang, pretty much talking about trends, where we are right now in the world of publishing. So Yati and Nontando, over to you.
Thank you, Mo. And hi, Dion. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
At Flat Trends, you specialize in identifying unexpected business opportunities within shifting trends, and specifically the impact of disruptive technologies across all industries. I would like to pick your brain on a few questions that, you know, we're all looking for answers, especially this year. What are some of the most effective ways to reach audiences now, during and post-pandemic?
All right, so there's, oh gosh, that's a big question, because there's so many different avenues, and I think therein lies the problem, is that you've got so many ways of meeting people. So I think the conversation, what I want to bring into the conversation today is that there's publishing in general, and obviously you all know that I've also had quite a long publishing history, but there's also a pandemic that shifts everything. So before the pandemic, it was all about digital transformation, about that kind of disruption, technological disruption. And there were certain things that the world was teetering on at the end of 2019, sustainability issues, all of those kind of things, which were sort of pushed just a bit to the side during the pandemic, and they will come back full force. The only problem is while we've been in lockdown, everybody's had a little bit of an existential crisis of their own at home. So I'm hosting my own, like a masterclass. We've been speaking to small business owners because obviously businesses have been decimated by this. And the one thing that I say to them very specifically is, don't forget, you know, we're all trying to resuscitate our business, and in the publishing realm, it's like sort of how do we get people to buy the magazines, and the discussion is between print and digital, and where the content really lies, and how to intercept that attention, which is really, really difficult now. But the problem with this pandemic is that when we get out of it, so to speak, in inverted commas, it is going to take us about 12 to 18 months. I've just listened to a podcast from The Economist about kind of big multinational companies, and they're saying, the good and cautious approach is that those companies will only start turning over profitability in at least a year or 18 months' time. So there's a long stretch of this extended lockdown. I call it the great staggering. And therein lies the different problem, is that in that 18 months or the 12 months that we would have been dealing with this pandemic, your consumer mindset has shifted completely. So I say to people, you need to ask yourselves in terms of business, is my business still relevant to a changed mindset? So obviously everybody's trying to kickstart their businesses. So you're saying, okay, I'm going to open my doors and we're going to start trading again and we can get the supply chains going and that everything will be okay. And that's not going to be okay, because is the product or the service that you are offering still relevant to a society that has completely flipped over, has changed, has done all of those kind of things. So those are the problems. I don't know if I can give you anything sort of clear crystal, these are succinct solutions for it, but this is the environment that we're going to go into. Having said that, I was just doing a bit of research before coming through here, and look, these are little blimps on the radar. But just to give the whole publishing fraternity and advertising fraternity some hope and something to hang on to, is we've done a lot of studies in your generation Zs, but then we look at even the younger guys. And there's an article on the Business Insider about two YouTubers, one aged 12 and one aged 8, who ran such successful YouTube businesses that they published their own magazines, and the supermarkets have started doing that. One of them is, he's a legend. It's called Ryan's World. He started at 9 years old reviewing toys. He's built this, or his family has built this empire, and he is part of the Disney umbrella now. And his magazines, Ryan's World, has consistently had not only a print run, but a absorption rate of about 40 to 50,000 magazines every month, and that's beaten some of Disney's own publications. So you've got to ask, how did that happen, and why did that happen? And then I just want to throw in something else, and we can discuss that. Is if you think about, it is going back to the youth market, so we can pull back from that. But if you look at the youth market, it's interesting to note that when they launched the new Star Wars movie, they didn't do the natural advertising channels. They launched it on Fortnite. So, that completely starts skewing who they're trying to talk to, where they're trying to intercept them. It obviously went out into the kind of the rollout of normal kind of advertising, but the initial touch point was actually in a game. And that's where the trailers went into Fortnite. So that's the kind of environment, and I guess an opening statement on my behalf.
Yes, thank you. And it's interesting to observe around this time how some businesses or brands are thriving in adapting to this new, digitally forward, and some are really battling. So it brings me to, does the idea of, when it comes to consumers, is the idea of brand loyalty still exist? And if so, what will keep the consumers loyal to your business post-pandemic?
So it's a yes and no answer, because I think for quite a while, and I think the tide switched maybe 18 months or 2 years ago. But even before that, so excuse my language, but I said we're living in an era of brand sluts. There is no brand loyalty. People will just go from one to the other, and whoever does that. However, the world is starting to turn. So like I said before, all these issues about sustainability, about brand empathy, all of those things were starting to come through, and those are what are going to give you that loyalty. So there is the loyalty there, but it is, so if you take a look at business in general, your consumers are going to be turned off by companies that are just looking for shareholder primacy, or they're just doing bottom line stuff. There's got to be some kind of purpose. There's got to be some meaning to what you're going to do. Don't just try and sell me the product. And the maybe it's bad news, but the challenge is, especially for a younger generation or a younger readership, if you want that, is if you look at the Gen Z that are coming through, so now they are not only in your workforce, they're the entry-level workforce, but they're also your new consumer. So this is your next generation that you want to speak to, depending on your title and who your demographic is. But in terms of buying a product, it was interesting. We also hosted a session and we had some Gen Zs onto it, and they said straight, flat out to some of the clients in the room who were consumer brands. They just said, we're not just going to go and buy your brand. We're going to ask questions. So, the question is your brand sustainable? What is the identity politics around it? Is it representative? Has it got brand, all those identity triggers there. So people are going to ask a lot more questions. So it's not just serving up the content or what you feel is what people are needing or wanting, but it's speaking very, very specifically to, if I can put it that way, to your tribe, and making sure that you really, really, really understand them fully. But then again, there's the problem is, I think this year has taught us as well, is that we are trapped in our homes and we are so swamped with content that I don't know how we're going to kind of really grab people's attention. Because if we had sporadic attention before, we have attention spans like lab rats at the moment. You just can't do that. But therein possibly lies the opportunity for magazines. I think we're all dying for some kind of escapism, some kind of something to travel with our minds and to do that. So I think the content positioning and the tweak needs to be really thought out. Again, what is the relevance of my content or the service that I provide?
Thank you, Dion, for those insights. I'll hand over to my colleague, Yati.
I think my question would be, how do you balance, from a communication strategy perspective, how do you balance the need to kind of get your brand name out there and be top of mind now? I think we all watched those adverts in March and April when, it was always about living in unprecedented times, and we're all probably tired of hearing that phrase. So what if you had to give a brand advice on a communication strategy for today, what would you tell them to say?
I'd say is, and this was before the pandemic hit, and it's painful for any brands to hear this, but your brand or your product is really secondary. It's no longer about that product. There's you've got comparisons. You can buy with people with that kind of accessibility with a click of a button or a mouse. You can buy and you can compare anything. So what makes you so different to that? And so don't try and hard sell me that, but also is again switching that relevance. Why are you relevant to me now? And I think especially in this pandemic, going into now 5 months of lockdown, the language has to change. So even on our own website, instead of just trying to give sort of forward-looking trends, all of those kind of things, it's turned into sort of business solutions. It's really being empathetic about things and doing that. And I know that I can see from some of the audience here, we've got some brands in there, PR agencies, all of those kind of things. And you saw the big switch around, just to illustrate the sort of the change in mindset, the pushback and the backlash against celebrities and influencers, all of that kind of stuff was very, very real. And people just said, I'm sorry, so maybe 8 months ago, it was fine to see you getting onto a jet plane. But right now, the mindset has changed so radically. It's don't rub that into my face. That is really, really distasteful. So yeah, a really
example that you brought up about Fortnite and Star Wars, say about trust when it comes to partnerships.
I think partnerships are the kind of the oil that are greasing the cogs of business at the moment, because you're seeing the decimation of a lot of small businesses, but you are seeing where the traction is the more unusual that collaboration is, the better. So the session that I'm hosting tomorrow, we're actually pointing out, we've got a lot of case studies of, and I think, I think it applies to obviously publishing as well, but in terms of small business, where if you're a brand, you look outwards towards the linked or the interlinked industries that you're in. Because just in terms of disruptive trends, if something hits an industry that is parallel to yours or is next to yours, it is sure as hell going to come and hit you. So if you are completely blind to that, you're going to lose out. So for now, it's the real time to say, what can we partner with, and what can we do? So a little bit of a spoiler alert, if anybody's attending my session tomorrow, I've got a case study about a removals company. So yes, so there's a removals company. Their collaboration was with a canned wine company. So you're thinking, how does wine and a removal company come together and be relevant? Well, the whole big trend, so that the tie-up is with a trend. So because of lockdown, there's the rate of divorces and breakups has skyrocketed. So this removal company has painted on their trucks, if you have been cancelled, we will come and help you move all of your stuff out. And as an add-on service, the wine company is going to give you some solace and you can have some canned wine. But the extra service that they're doing is we will eliminate everything of your exes when we move to do that. That is great relevance, and that's a great partnership.
That is fantastic. I love that from a surprise and delight angle. That's hilarious, actually. Thank you so much, Dion. I know we're out of time for this segment, so I'm going to hand over back to you for our next conversation.
Cool. Thank you so much, Dion. That was quite insightful, actually. I mean, I do agree with you. Something I've been learning, and I'm sure we'll touch on this a bit with Lebo and Digital, is that millennials and Gen Zs want a brand that has more. This is no longer about what you sell. It's about what do you stand for. Who are you? Moving on to our second session. Our second session, we're talking about brand positioning as well as the role of digital. And to kickstart our session, we've got the CEO of Publisher Research Council, Josephine Baez, who during her 20-year career in media and marketing, Josephine has represented several of South Africa's publishers, including GQ at the launch. As the founding CEO of IABSA, Josephine promoted the acceleration of the growth of digital on behalf of publishers, agencies, and brands. As a marketer, she understands the challenges of finding the right medium for brand messages. As a media professional, she champions the power of the written word. Josephine supports the president's endeavor to ensure that every child can read for meaning by the age of 10, and she's a co-founder of the initiative in collaboration with SA Human Rights Council to have universal access to the internet declared a human right. Josephine, I would like to welcome you to our panel. Thank you so much for joining us. So just starting off, I would like to ask you, so you have said, as far as you're concerned, print will not die. So let me just start you off there. You said, as far as you're concerned, print publishing will not die. Can you elaborate on that as you also give us your insights and more?
Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this insightful conversation and to talk about my passion today. And yes, I am on the record with my belief that print will never die. Instead, I believe print media will evolve and become a valuable new niche. As you've mentioned, I'm the CEO of the Publisher Research Council. It's a joint industry council which represents all the major publishers in South Africa, including Condé Nast. We produce a biennial publisher audience measurement survey, PAMS, which is the reading currency that delivers an accurate measure of reading behavior across multiple platforms, including newspapers and magazines. We pioneered fusion approach to media research in South Africa. This simply means that we fuse multiple data sets to create more powerful market research for planners and advertisers. For example, we're now able to prove through multiple studies that readers earn more than non-readers across the entire spectrum of society. Global research echoed by us in South Africa indicates that boomers and Gen X do read, whether on screen or paper. Younger generations, of course, need to be enticed into reading the quality content publishers create for screens. So while the establishment survey found that only 1/3 of South Africans read, the majority of SAM 8 to 10 do read, which is why we champion the written word, and our slogan is read to remember. Analysts would call this read to recall, as opposed to viewing, listening, or glancing. So Condé Nast asked me to share some insights into the media landscape for both publishers and readers since the COVID pandemic set in. What we have been seeing even before lockdown is that readers are alive and well. They're simply changing platforms. In a recently conducted study, we've tracked ad spend and audiences since the beginning of lockdown. This tracker, which measures economic activity, shows a top-line summary of expenditure and, where possible, audience changes with a comparable period in 2019. As most of us are aware, advertisers largely pulled up the handbrake on advertising spend when lockdown commenced. So as to be expected, the study shows gradually declining percentages of ad spend month by month, with May 2020 down 37% year on year. In this context, I'd like to share a quote that I read this morning at the Media Online from Paolo Sartini, the CEO of brand Quantum. She says, history shows us that companies typically opt to go dark during times of crisis to avoid positioning the brand negatively. However, this approach does more damage than good. Rather, those companies that continue with their marketing campaigns are viewed more positively and survive a crisis better than those that don't. And I couldn't agree more. What is clear, print has suffered badly during lockdown for obvious reasons, and our sector has suffered casualties as a result. The big theme that has emerged is that COVID has acted as a catalyst for digital transformation, not just in media, but in all sectors. As you mentioned, I was the founding CEO of the IAB in my previous role, and there I championed digital acceleration. And as an eternal optimist, I see a brighter side of this pandemic. The fact that companies are now more comfortable with people working remotely means less traffic on the roads, which in turn means less carbon emissions. Less time in traffic means better productivity, and I would argue better mental health. Families have spent time together that I believe in time we will look back on with nostalgia, as we would never have spent this amount of time together without the pandemic and the subsequent lockdown. We've all heard about nature and wildlife returning to its former glory, and not to mention what every nursery teacher taught every one of us, that washing our hands properly prevents germs. In the context of what we're here to discuss today, the most exciting of these shifts in the behavior is that e-commerce has grown exponentially. Almost everything can be bought online and delivered to our door. While the customer journey has many touch points, I would argue that at the end of the sales funnel, many of us will read more about the product during the consideration phase before we click to purchase. Consumers have been pushed out of their comfort zones and they're happily armchair shopping. This looks likely to continue long after lockdown ceases. The PRC lockdown activity tracker shows that there was a massive surge in online readership at the beginning of lockdown. And while it has leveled out somewhat over the last 120 days, we're still seeing double the online traffic that was recorded pre-pandemic. This trend will continue. Readers want to be informed and educated as well as entertained, whether it's online or via printed media. While I agree that digital is a critical part of the brand and channel mix, print continues to be recognized as a trusted, brand-safe environment for advertisers. We know that consumers want to have a deeper, more engaged user experience when they read something in a magazine. Trusted titles allow for that one-on-one deeper engagement, and we meet them where they are, be it looking for home, beauty, fashion, inspiration, or information. Magazines have a deep-rooted and trusted relationship with their readers and have an important role to play in curating products for consumers by the quality of their content. So while some readers like me, who still enjoy the tactile, uninterrupted experience with our favorite titles, will continue to buy printed media, others, especially young people, will continue to build their relationships with their favorite titles and media brands online. So where brands meet them will be critical to the success of any campaign. With online marketing set to move from invasive cookie-based behavioral targeting to contextual marketing in the privacy age, Condé Nast and others who create excellent content across platforms will not only survive but thrive as consumers cautiously emerge from lockdown into the next normal. But I would like to close off with some good news. Even during the pandemic, and despite some of the print sector casualties and economic uncertainty, there are new magazines and even a weekly newspaper soon being launched into market. So on that note, I'm happy to say that readers are alive and well.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for that, Josephine. Readers are indeed alive and well. And some of the people who get to converse with most of our clients and PR agencies are sales and advertising executives. We've got 3 of them here today with us. So we're just going to take us through how their strategies have changed as the publishing industry has changed. But before we speak to Jacqui, Charlotte, and Beverly, I just want to let you know that our hashtag is hashtag CN Partners in Creativity, hashtag CN Partners in Creativity. You can hashtag us on Twitter. I think we are also on Instagram. And please do not forget our poll. Our fourth poll is still running. It's running until the end of our session. We really want to know what you think on those questions we've asked you. And don't forget as well about that Dale Carnegie 35,000 Rand lucky prize for you and your company. So it's basically a training prize for one person who wins and the company. So 10 people in total. So just moving on to Jacqui, Charlotte, and Beverly, who are our sales and marketing executives. I'll just start off with you, Charlotte. How has, as just to intro, how has your strategy changed in terms of advertising and sales as our times have changed? How has your way of speaking to the clients changed when you go out there to meet the clients and engage with them?
Thanks, Mo, and hi to everyone. Thanks for joining today. Sure, I've been in publishing for quite a few years now, and obviously the scene has changed, especially now with COVID. I think what is exciting is that we are able to collaborate truly with our clients now. In the older days of publishing, it was quite rigid, and I think our editors and the business itself has become so much more collaborative, and it's given us the opportunity to create this amazing hub where we all come together and brainstorm and come up with amazing ideas that fit in with the strategy of our clients and their agencies. So one of the campaigns that really have stood out for me, where we collaborated from start to finish, was an omni-channel collaboration with Louis XIII Cognac, and their whole position is thinking a year ahead. So it gave us the opportunity to create a 4-part content video series with 4 remarkable South African thought leaders, which we filmed and produced at Stefan Turnier's private residence. He's the world-renowned architect. And the result was a beautifully interwoven, thought-provoking, visually powerful set of content pieces, which translated from the digital native content with the video link embedded into that. We then linked advertorials, and we boosted this with social media. And it was set over a 4 to 6 month period, and really it gave our Condé Nast audience the wonderful experience of getting to know this brand and their 100-year heritage story, but throwing it forward 100 years, which I think was really amazing and exciting. And I know after the webinar, I think Mo's going to upload those links, so you'll be able to go and have a look and see for yourself. And yeah, this exciting campaign that we partnered with.
Cool. Thank you so much, Charlotte. Indeed, after the webinar, what we're going to do is we're going to share a link to all these campaigns so that you're able to see the campaigns we're talking about. We're moving over to Beverly. Beverly, how has the collaboration changed on your side? How have you changed in terms of how you collaborate with agencies when you approach them? And what has been like some of the challenges as the industry evolves for you, and how are you maneuvering those?
More definitely, like Josephine said, the advertisers have dropped their spend, but also it has brought in new advertisers, because during the lockdown, everyone was, decorating their homes. So people were doing DIY projects, We also had cooking clients who came on board. We worked with the influencers. So as much as it was a downward spiral for our big clients, with our smaller clients, it was also an opportunity for them. So there's always ways to partner with the clients, making sure that we give them content that is relevant to our readers, that is key, because that's what our readers come to our website for. They want to be inspired. Magazines are beautiful, so you want to take it from the pages to online. And when you come online, you want to see the beautiful homes. You want to be inspired. You want to take something off of it. So even with the advertisers, when we create content, we make sure that as much as we are meeting the objectives, it also speaks to our readers. And I just want to touch on the Waylands campaign quickly. as one of the wonderful campaigns we did last year. We did a nice cover collaboration talking about the Wayland's brand story, having the whole family on the cover, and that translated beautifully into our editorial pages. And these pages went online, where we had behind the scenes shoot videos, and also the house tour of the Wayland's home. So they used that opportunity to just inspire our readers how you can use their furniture and home decor, and they ran a promotion with that. And afterwards we had an event. So at the end of it all, our readers were educated, they were informed, you know, and they connected with the brand. And it was just another exciting way of when media owners and brands and clients come together, actually, you know. So there's plenty more. I mean, we did other campaigns even with influencers. We're not limited, you know, and it was not really about them, but it was about the lifestyle, you know, how do they live, you know, what do they eat? And our readers love that kind of content. So there's plenty of opportunities that we can offer our clients. Even travel, I mean, Ford, we can talk after this. We've done a campaign where we had a drive-through to a wine farm, and there was a cooking story with a Jewish family. So you see, even though it was about food and wine, but also we were showing the features of the car. So there's a lot we can do with our clients. Just give us a shout, we'll help you. Bring those budgets, don't limit yourself.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I totally agree with you on that one, Bev. And it was Lexus, just to correct you there. We did a campaign with Lexus. So just to correct Beverly there. Jacqui Erasmus, can you just take us through how your strategies have changed and some of the companies, that brands and campaigns that you've worked on? I think you're muted, Jax.
I'm muted, yes. Okay,
Cool,
from my side, I totally agree with Josie, and I think this was also totally before the actual COVID hits, is that print just forms part of a bigger media mix. I don't think print will ever die. I think it's always going to be there. I just think it forms part of a more bespoke campaign solution. And I think what COVID has possibly shown us is that the power of collaboration and bespoke campaign solutions. And by having multiple touch points, yeah, your campaign can just flourish. With us, I think for me, one campaign specifically that stood out for me was the aerial campaign, which is a great demonstration for me of the power of native content collaboration and brand storytelling. Basically, the brief from client was to create a digital-only solution for a new range of aerial products. The target market was both your male and female markets, millennial markets, and to change the shift in purchasing habits from your powders through to your liquid detergents. What we did as GQ and Glamour, we tapped into our content collaboration. We will be able to create a series of native content pieces in line with the Glamour and GQ reader lifestyle aspirations by combining video, rich native content, and social media. The aerial brand was actually seamlessly integrated into the storytelling that instantly connected the brand with our audience. And this resulted in the campaign being a huge success with a reach of over 2 million. So that's just an example of how the strength of content collaboration, and I think GQ and Glamour, you're touching into a lifestyle. You're not just buying into a brand, you're buying into the actual lifestyle, which has multiple touch points across your prints, your social media, digital, and when COVID is past, our event activations. So I think we've really got a powerful offering. And if I can encourage anything, is for the PR agencies, the clients, the agencies to come to us. It's about conversations. It's about brainstorming. It's about the more I know about your product, the better I can customize a tailor-made solution that will tick all the boxes for you and your clients and ultimately have good results in you coming back to us.
Cool, cool. Thank you so much, Jacqui. And another campaign that you did that I just wanted to mention is the Royco campaign, which is just finished now, where we work together with the brand, Royco, to pretty much cement their Instagram presence, because initially they did not have an Instagram presence. It rolled out through natives, and then we had a live IG cook-off. So it's been great. And again, Jacqui has been instrumental in that, as well as Charlotte and Beverly. So moving on to our next guest speaker. I'm excited to talk to this guest speaker. But before we speak to Lebo Lion, Remember the hashtag CN Partners in Creativity. That's hashtag CN Partners in Creativity. And we are going to do the lucky draw of that 35,000 Rand from Dale Carnegie, the prize from Dale Carnegie, where you and your company will stand a chance to win a prize. So Lebo Lion is the voice of marketing. She has transformed over 500 SMMEs. She is a speaker of the biggest podcast in Africa called Lessons with Lion, who believes that Africa's most valuable resource is its people. Social media strategist and co-founder of BPOL SA and SSME growth specialist. She has been honored as one of the 40 under 40 African business icons of 2020. Lebo, welcome. So first, before I even ask you some of the questions I have here, I just wanted to find out, what's the landscape like? What is the landscape like? As a marketing guru and a digital expert, what's happening there right now?
Lord, thank you for having me, Molife, and I really enjoyed what everyone else before me has had to say. It was really enlightening, and I have to agree with most of the sentiments that were shared. You know, I don't think publishing is dead, and I think Josephine is right. You know, when people can read, they can interact more with digital tools and digital landscapes. So it's very important for us to understand that digital is not a competitor to publishing, it's actually a complement. You know, they're not fighting each other, they actually can work together to achieve so much more and reach so many more people. So are you asking me what the social media landscape is or what the digital landscape is?
So just basically digital and social media landscape. I know you are an expert in this area. So like, how have you seen how it is right now?
Okay, so I was actually part of a panel. We were talking about the social media landscape in South Africa, right? And based on the research that was shared on that landscape, what came out is that a lot of corporates and brands are reducing their spend on social media campaigns and influencer marketing, right? And the conclusion that I derived from all of the statistics that they were showing us is basically that a lot of corporates and brands don't actually have a deep understanding of how to use social media and digital tools to achieve their objectives. So for a long time, corporates have been implementing social media and other digital tools as a KPI and not necessarily as a tool that we perceive as valuable to help us achieve our objectives, you know? And so because they're implementing them in that way, they cannot derive the right value from those assets. And we're also seeing that companies that have been doing that are really thriving right now during lockdown and COVID-19. And even companies whose share prices have gone up, and the billionaires that we're seeing now are all people who founded online companies, Facebook, Amazon, I mean, just to name a few, you know, even your OTT devices, your over-the-top devices, your Netflix, all of those companies are growing right now during a time that's actually really devastating for most companies. So we have to ask ourselves why that's happening. And my belief is that the reason why this is happening is because all of these platforms give people access to community. It gives them access to people. And people help you make money. So a business exists to make money. If you can't make money, then you don't have a business, right? So all of these businesses not only have access to people in different communities and niches, they also provide solutions for whatever those people want, you know, and they are able to provide them in a digital manner. And because they know how to communicate digitally in a way that so many companies don't know how to, they're really thriving during this time when we can't leave our houses and we can't really do anything except for whatever we can do while we're home. So for me, I just think that, especially in South Africa, you know, a lot of companies are losing confidence in social media and influencer marketing. But I think if you look at global trends, I mean, the influencer industry is determined to be worth $15 billion, I think, in 2022. So that's just showing you the appetite, the global appetite for influencer marketing. Why is it growing? Why are they predicting that it's going to be worth so much money? And I think as South African brands and corporates, we have to think about that and ask ourselves why we're losing confidence in it, but the rest of the world is actually investing more in these digital tools.
And Lebo, what would you say is the importance for, because this is a question I always ask, like for social influencers, for in particular for a brand to understand the importance of a social influencer partnering with a trusted brand, what will that do for their campaigns if particular brand will partner with the GQ House and Garden and a particular influencer? How important is that type of collaboration?
I am a firm advocate for influencer marketing. I think it's a really clever marketing tool, because what influencers do is they already have a community that they've built, right? They've already created the trust, they've already created the conversation. So when people are on that particular influencer's account, they feel like they're having a genuine and authentic interaction with a person. And so when it comes, the first thing that comes to their mind is not, this person is selling to me. It's more, this person is advising me. This person's entertaining me. This person is inspiring me. They don't see you as the way they'd see a brand, where they think, okay, if I go onto Joko's brand, they're trying to sell me tea. If I go onto Ford's brand, they're trying to sell me a car. You know, when they look at influencers, they feel like it's a genuine, almost human connection with somebody else. And so it opens up the customer's mind and their perception to be interacting with whatever they're being shared with online, right? So as brands, what we should be trying to do is to plug into those experiences, right? We're not supposed to try to shine and make customers come to us. We should be going to where the customer is. And that's why I believe in community and in product instead of product to community. So I believe that brands need to be going where people have built communities and plug into those conversations that communities are already having with the influencer or the thought leader in that community, instead of trying to be the thought leader and trying to be the community, because people can't break their perception of you're a brand, but then also how are you somebody who's just caring about my well-being, and how are you somebody who cares about my wants and my needs? You get what I'm trying to say? So I think influencer marketing allows brands to plug into those conversations, plug into that sentiment, plug into that perception. And over time, what people start to perceive the brand as is, okay, this person allows my thought leader or my brand influencer to inspire me more, because by partnering with them, they've shown me how to save money, you know? So it's really about what can I get out of this, in more than just what are you selling to me? It's about what story are you telling me? Do you even know who I am? Are your campaigns relevant to my lived experience now? I'm at home. Are you going to be showing me holidays, or are you going to be showing me what you can sell to me that I can use at home? So it's all about, I think, the 4 E's: engagement, experience, exclusivity, and I'm trying to remember the last one, experience. Engagement, experience, exclusivity, and I forgot the 4th one. So engagement is basically, tell me stories, you know, don't sell to me, tell me a story, have a conversation with me. Exclusivity is all about access to different products and services, right? So a lot of American influencers and business people who've really thrived in terms of social selling online have used the exclusivity strategy, right? So it's not just about the cost of something. So something expensive doesn't just have to be the only thing that can use exclusivity, but it's also about, you know, limited space. So we're launching this show on our channel and only 10 people can be part of it. You know, just the exclusivity element of it to create hype, to create demand for something. So that's also something that a lot of brands are using. Engagement, exclusivity, and I'm trying to think of my last 2. Experience. So people want to feel like they're taking part in an experience online, right? They don't want to feel like they're just on your page and you're posting pictures. They want to feel like they're part of something. And experiences drive culture. Experiences showcase how a brand is in tune with what people want and what they're talking about and what they're feeling and living. So it's really important for brands to plug into influencers, because influencers can drive the market to whatever asset a brand is creating online, but they can also create that. Hello?
Hi, no, we can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Lebo. And I totally agree with you. I mean, plugging into people who are the leaders of trusted brands who are the leaders in what they do. And I think I can safely say that when it comes to Condé Nast, we've got 3 different brands who are trusted in our different fields. And another thing that I just wanted to just talk about in terms of digital. So I'm the online editor, and I also head digital for Condé Nast South Africa. Digital solutions, so digital, as we've spoken about, has been growing. And what I've realized as time goes on is that with digital, it's not only native content. It's mailers, it's run-of-site banners, it is social media. So in cases where brands might not have like the biggest budgets, you can do a social media campaign only. If you don't have a budget for a video, you can maybe just then do a banner to lead to your website. So we pretty much have a wide range of solutions in terms of digital on our side with the Condé Nast platforms. I'd like to thank you so much, Lebo. Thank you. That was very insightful. I've been seeing questions coming in our Q&A. We will ask questions in our next segment, which is our last segment. I've seen a couple of questions here. I will ask some of the panelists as well to come back and, we are all here, but it's almost like to come back onto the stage, so to speak, so that they can answer some of these questions. And please remember, hashtag CN Partners in Creativity, hashtag CN Partners in Creativity. Once again, we'd like to thank our partners, Ford, for making this possible, as well as Dale Carnegie. Don't forget, we've got that prize, the draw for that prize from Dale Carnegie for 35,000 Rand. I will pull the winners for that prize towards the end of our webinar. But as we're moving on to our Q&A session, Lebo, I'll just start with you. There's a question that someone sent earlier, which I thought was extremely important to just speak about, especially this time of digital and being consistently on social media. So the question is, as we know, social media is 24/7, and the digital space allows people to connect globally. How can creators practically manage the digital space and deliver value to their local and international audience while taking care of their own mental health? I thought that was like a very important question. Lebo, I'll hand it over to you.
That's a loaded question, actually.
Yes.
But thank you for the question, and I'll try to answer it to the best of my ability. I think with content creation and with social media just generally, you have to know why you're using it and why you're there, you know? I think people who feel drained a lot of the time from using social media and creating content for it are people who don't understand what they're doing there and might not necessarily be leveraging from the powers of social media in the best way possible, you know? So I remember when I started my social media journey, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago on Instagram. And I started as trying to be a fashion influencer, right? And honestly, clothes are beautiful, but I don't really enjoy trying to show people what to wear and taking pictures of my outfits. Like, that's not my thing, you know? And I found it mentally exhausting. I found it like just the worst experience of my life, you know? And when I changed my why, so when I asked myself, why am I using social media? What am I trying to achieve with it? And I changed my content. It made it easier for me to be online consistently because I was able to create the content that actually suits my objectives. And that was actually just showing people my love for marketing, what I know about digital marketing, and my daily experiences. You know, that was easy content for me to produce because it was something I was doing every single day. So it wasn't that hard to do. And then I also had to ask myself about, you know, who do I need to follow? If I'm trying to enjoy my social media experience and I'm trying to be somebody who shares digital marketing content, who do I need to be following, you know? And then that speaks to the question of curating your social media experience, right? Because when you know why you're online, then you'll know who to follow, what kind of conversations to take part in. And then social media starts to become an extension of your life in a positive way because it's adding one way or another to your objectives, you know? And when I pivoted and I actually changed how I existed on social media, I started making money from it because I was accessing brands, I was accessing thought leaders, and they really enjoyed the way I was doing things. So yeah, social media used to be tiring for me, but when I changed my why, my objectives for being there, I found a lot of growth and a lot of fulfillment from being on the platform. So I think for your mental health, always do the things that you enjoy and whose process you enjoy. If you enjoy the process, you don't worry about the outcome so much, you know, because the process is already very fulfilling. And when I changed my mindset and I started to use social media as that kind of tool, it was easier for me to exist online and leverage from the powers of social selling and collaboration and all of those kinds of things.
Cool. Thank you so much for that, Lebo. Now moving on to a question, and I will hand this over to Yati. I'll hand this question over to Yati. Yati, the question we have here is, at Condé Nast, you have a diverse range of brands, GQ, Glamour, and House and Garden. How are you handling the challenge of establishing effective and meaningful KPIs for your clients for the various brands?
Interesting question. I think I have to say that depends on the campaign and the project. I think the important thing to highlight is that we can collaborate across the board. And I think the old kind of formula of there being that little bit of a wall between the commercial side and the editorial side, that fell away a long time ago. I think now what exists is a complete collaboration. And when I say collaboration, it's not just, you know, publisher to client, but it's brand to brand. It's brand to agencies, whether those agencies are above the line in handling your media buying, or if they're a PR agency, an events agency, even an influencer marketing agency. It's all about collaboration. So I think we customize those from the ground up to really define what the objectives are and identify as much context as we can. And then we build something out of that. I think the Ariel example was such an interesting one, because if you had said to someone who works at a GQ or Glamour or House and Garden, even 3 or 4 years ago, would we feature or do a big video campaign around a household detergent? You'd say, well, probably not. But then if you think about it, the context is, well, of course, why not? You know, we do laundry, I do laundry, I did some laundry today. Influencers do laundry too, so do celebrities, although they won't tell you about it. So there is some relevance there. And that's when we have to identify what the context is and what story we can build out of that. I always say that GQ is like a house, and there's so many different rooms. And so we invite what we used to call readers, audiences, now communities, inside, and we take them to different rooms. So if we're in the garage, we're going to talk about a number of different things that are relevant to that room. If we're in the kitchen, we're going to talk about this. If we're in the wardrobe, we're going to talk about that. It's really about customizing to make sure that whatever the objective is, we can break it down in a way that's relevant editorially and present something that's unique, that people can't find anywhere else, and that's powerful and impactful, and still meets each one of those KPIs. That's the exciting thing for me. I love that process between trying to identify that exact intention and making sure that it matches the desired outcome, that there's magic in that. And I think that's something that our whole team does very, very well.
Well, cool. Thank you so much for that, Jacqui. My next question is for you, Charlotte. Charlotte, this question is from Lorinda, who is one of our clients. Lorinda is asking, would love to also have more views on the PR industry and how we can adapt to make our brands stand out when we work with you. So basically, what can PR agencies do as they're working with you as the advertising and sales executives to get the full experience?
That's a very interesting question, because I think over the last kind of 2 years, I've seen a much bigger influence from the PR agencies and briefs coming through from client, more below the line than above the line. And I find working with PR agencies very creative, and they continue the conversation, and they get into the whole brainstorming with us. So I think PR agencies need to open the door and have the conversation with us, not just send press releases and press packages, but really engage with us. There are small pockets of budgets with clients below the line, and we can make those work. I mean, I think pretty much we use our rate card as a benchmark, but clients come to us, especially on the PR side, and say, maybe I've got 50,000 Rand, maybe I've got 20, maybe I've got 100. What can you do for that? These are my objectives and what I want to achieve. And then we come together as a team and really have that conversation of what we can do. And anything's possible. We can make anything happen. So I think it's just to allow the PR agencies to engage with us and come forward with their message and their conversation. It's very important that we have those conversations.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Charlotte. My next question here is from Shreshka Singh. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Shreshka's question is for Dion. Dion, Shreshka is asking, let me just make sure yes, there, you see you, Dion, is in terms of escapism, do you think the role of virtual reality has pivoted into higher relevance as an essential for entertainment during this lockdown COVID-19 times?
Yeah, really good question, but the answer I think is no. Because I think we've seen with a lot of technologies is just because the technology enables you to do something, it doesn't mean that it will translate commercially as people thought it would. So this, the same thing that happened with Google Glass was sort of a great invention, all of those things, but there were privacy issues, all of that. Where virtual reality has kind of moved off into and been very, very useful is with training and education, and looking at things. I don't know if anybody's seen, there's a decor program, Your House Made Perfect or Your House Made Beautiful, which they use virtual reality, and that's kind of to look at rehoming, renovations, all of those kind of things. But you're seeing most of the virtual reality take-ups in terms of training, and I think that's a really good one, because one is empathy training, so they are teaching people within situations, if you get a customer that is really angry or whatever, you're using a virtual reality way to do that, and then envisaging projects, building and all those things. I think in terms of entertainment, it is possible, but it's not always preferable. It's one of those technologies where I don't know if I want to sit with a heavy headset all the time onto there. It's fine for a nice little 5-minute excursion and see what's great, but I don't know if it's a lifestyle kind of thing. So it's a no on that, but in terms of the education and training and for building and engineering projects, it's taken off great, very, very nicely.
Thank you so much for that, Dion. Moving on to Josephine, we have a question here from Melissa, Melissa Stridham. I'm just trying to find, yes, there you are, Josephine. We've got a question from Melissa. And Melissa saying, Josephine, you mentioned as a silver lining for the pandemic due to certain causes, an effect can be better mental health. However, this pandemic has had a very negative effect during this time, I guess you want to say. Can you get into more detail about mental health, self-help strategies in the industry? I don't know if yeah, wow, it's a packed question. It is packed.
That's a loaded question. I actually like what Lebo was talking about earlier when she was talking about the social media channels. I think, you know, we have to start with who are we spending our time with and why, and what is that doing for our mental well-being. I, for one, will put my hand up and say, I live my best life on social media. And a couple of years ago, someone wrote to me privately and said, wow, Joes, your life in South Africa looks amazing. And I wrote privately back and said, well, I don't write there when I'm, you know, just washing the dishes, or I only amplify when I'm doing something exciting. And so I got concerned myself a couple of years ago about the influence that social media has on our well-being. And in fact, in my private capacity, I tried a well-being experiment. I stayed off one of the platforms for a while, and it worked. Sorry, Lebo. But I agree with what you're saying. Choose carefully who you decide to spend that valuable time with. And the well-being that I mentioned was more about, you know, I just think everybody's sitting in metal coffins to get to work. I don't know why we were doing that. I never understood why we were doing that, when I, for years, have known that we can do this, we can do business like this. Yes, I really look forward to, well, I guess not pressing the flesh, we can't say that anymore, but elbow bumping and the days when we can hug again, I can't wait. But for now, we have this opportunity to embrace this technology, to be able to stay in touch with one another. And just on a personal level about mental well-being, you know, I no longer use those 4-letter words, good, fine, and whatever the other, well. When people ask me how I'm doing, I'm really honest. I'm really, really honest. It's not always great. And it's okay. I think it's completely natural that all of us are having tough days. These are, you know, I'm going to use the word unprecedented. Sorry, Yati, you were the first one. I'm going to use it again. You know, there's no rule book on this. So I think lean on your communities. I personally, I just said last night to my mum, I'm missing my colleagues. I'm missing this. I'm missing having interactions with creative minds and people. And I think we're all doing that. And as much as, yes, Pete, we're looking forward to seeing our families in the holidays, you know, we've also spent a lot of time with them this year as well. So I urge everyone to speak to your friends. You know, I touch base every evening with a friend who's in lockdown alone, like the single lockdown friends, just to check in on their well-being, check in on one another, and use what we have available to us, our magazines, our reading, our social media networks, use them in a positive way to make sure that they do uplift your spirit. And I'm sorry, I'm not a psychologist. I can't give anything more sort of accurate than that. I can only give my own experience in this context.
Definitely. Thank you very much for that, Josephine. Pete, my next question is for you. Lindelwa Mahonga says, I'm a little sad with the decline of print in the media. Much as I've embraced the digital move, what are we going to be doing during the next 6 months to engage the audiences? I do know you did speak about what's happening with House and Garden, but Lindelwa sent this about 3:35. So what are we going to be doing differently in the next 6 months to engage audiences? I've been buying my favorite printed magazines even during lockdown and will continue to do so in the future. They provide a welcome relief as I am in front of screens for 10 hours working from home.
All right, start. I hope I answered this question properly. I think to kind of go back to what everybody's been saying is that, at least for me, what we're doing in print more and more, and I actually saw someone made a comment earlier saying that it's interesting how during COVID and sort of as we've gone on, a lot of pretense has fallen away and a lot of this concept of what is glamorous or what is should be put forward or, you know, to make something sellable is kind of falling away, and brands are having much more honest conversations with their audiences. So I think for me, the most important thing print can do right now is have integrity. We need to understand who we're speaking to. We need to have, I would say, integrity, relevance, and utility. I think those would be the 3 most important things that would really define why you would actually want to engage with a print product. As Josephine was saying, you know, there is an uninterrupted quality to print that it is afforded that sort of permanence. There isn't a pop-up that's suddenly going to interrupt your experience with a print title. And I think that because you've got that very sort of one-on-one connection, you can have a very direct conversation. You can have a very relevant conversation. And again, because I think the medium itself lends a lot of trust. There's a lot of sort of invested trust in it. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I think what print should be doing is really having an honest conversation with their audience and with their readers and really understanding why would somebody buy your magazine? I mean, magazines are the ultimate luxury right now. There needs to be a real reason why someone reads your magazine. And I think you need to, as a brand, as a print title, you need to really understand why. That's it.
No. Yes, thank you so much for that, Pete. I'm only going to ask one more question, then we will do the draw for the winner of the competition. The poll is now ending. We're going to end our poll right now. So for those who have participated in the poll, thank you very much. We're going to ask one last question. I'm just looking through the questions so that I can share those with you. So I've got a question. All right. Shanae Isaacs is asking, so I'll ask this to Nontando. The question is, how do the teams at Condé Nast remain motivated despite not living through a pandemic, but also a high socio-economic climate? We tend to draw inspiration from our surroundings. Do you guys have any tips or any favorite things that you do? Nontando?
Thank you, Mo. I think we have a very strong teams and very professional teams working for each of our titles. When we had to immediately shut down, when the pandemic, when the lockdown was announced, you know, we were all kind of thrown into the deep end. We haven't worked from home before because we used to have daily meetings in the morning where we chat about production, you know, and just keep touch base with each other. So I think we've done well in terms of adjusting to our new norm, working from home and this communicating via the screen. And also I think it's important now, like Josephine said, to just check in on each other and remember why you are doing what you are doing. Remember why you are in that position, and drawing insight and inspiration from what you are most passionate about is quite important, and that will help you when moving forward in these difficult times that we're facing. Remember why you are here, remember your dreams, where you want to be, and just check in on each other more than ever.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Nontando. I would like to say thank you. Thank you once again to Ford as our partner of Partners in Creativity for this webinar, as well as Dale Carnegie. So we have found a winner. We have found a winner for the 35,000 Rand competition prize that we have from Dale Carnegie. So that's basically yourself and 9 of your colleagues. It's a training for Dale Carnegie. I'm sure a lot of us do know about Dale Carnegie. Our winner for this prize is Angela Giza. So Angela Giza, you are our winner for this prize. Angela, if you would like to say something, you can just lift up your hand and I'll allow you to talk. Otherwise, we will contact you offline. Angela, congratulations for that. Congratulations. Everyone is saying well done to Angela. Angela Giza is a winner of that 35,000 Rand prize from Dale Carnegie. Thank you. So once again, would like to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We totally appreciate it. We do not take this lightly. We do know there are a whole lot of other webinars. There are a whole lot of other conversations that are going on. And for the fact that you took your time to come here and speak with us, we appreciate it. We'd like to say thank you to Lebo Lion. Thank you so much for taking your time to chat with us. Josephine Bias, thank you so much. Dion Chang, thank you so much for your time. I'd like to say thank you to Jacqui Erasmus, Charlotte NUTMAN, Nontando Mposo, Nkosiyati Khumalo, and Piet Smedy. Thank you very much for taking your time. And I also would like to say thank you to our behind the scenes team. So those people whose names don't appear on any posters, those people whose names we don't get to see. We'd like to say thank you to Desiree, Paul Myberg, our CEO, Mbuso Bettina, Karen, Arthur, Vinay, Thea, just everyone, Natasha, who's been working extremely well for us to have an amazing webinar. So in 1 second, I'm going to literally unmute. I'll just say a name. Lebo, you can say something just as a parting shot, literally 1 second, parting shot. I mean, we kind of want to end it with like a vibe. So Lebo, is there anything you'd like to say in literally 1 second?
Online is the way. Build communities and trust that they'll carry you through all the stages of your business.
Cool. Charlotte, over to you. 1 second, literally.
1 second. Please, guys, keep the conversation open. We're here for you. We'd love to collaborate and our doors always open.
Cool. And Josephine, just literally 1 second, what do you have to say for our audience, all those who came and joined us?
Well, given the last question I answered, I'd say be as kind to yourself as you are to others. These are tough times, so look after yourself.
Absolutely, love that. Over to you, Piet. Over to you, Piet. What would you like to say in 1 second?
I'm gonna do this and just throw back to what we were speaking about earlier. I think just stay true to what you're doing, and I think you'll make it work. And it's my birthday. Peace out.
Happy birthday, Piet. Bev, 1 second. What would you like to say?
Stay focused, stay relevant.
Cool. Dion, Mr. Dion Chang, 1 second. What would you like to say as we end our webinar?
Thank you. It was just something that I wanted to just tag on to what Josephine was saying. But it's the concept of, in business and in interpersonal relationships, the concept of anticipatory grief that we're all going through. I can't say it in 1 second, but just Google it. I've written quite a few articles on it. But understand anticipatory grief in terms of your business and in terms of dealing with other people and empathy. And take care and stay sane.
Cool. Nontando, here you go.
Thank you all for being here, for your support, and look out for our next issues.
Jacqui, over to you.
Just thank you to everybody for joining us, and pick up the phone, drop us an email. We're always here. Doesn't have to be just on a business level, could be on a personal level. We all have to support each other, to collaborate, and I think it's power in numbers, power in collaboration, and reach out.
Cool. Thank you. And this webinar will be available. We're going to put this webinar will be available by tomorrow. We'll have it on all our YouTube pages. Yati, I saved you for last for a reason. You are just, yes. Yati.
3 things. Thank you for your support. Everything is customizable, and creativity is
Cool. I thought you were going to sing us a happy birthday to Piet. Literally, that's why I decided I'm going to put Yati last, because he's going to just serenade us with.
No.
Cool.
Can one of us thank you very much? This has been a wonderful experience. I've really enjoyed today. Thank you very much for being our fearless leader.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. This has been amazing. And to everyone who stayed on until the end, we appreciate it. So see you on the flip side. And like Jacqui said, do contact us, email, we're available, and we're here to work with you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Stay safe, stay sane.
Stay safe.